So a couple of days ago, I had a few friends over to play some video games when the inevitable subject of which console is better came up. All of us own both a PS4 and Xbox One, but one of my friends had some particularly harsh words for the Xbox One because of the manner in which he had experience installing game updates. Basically, there had been occasions where the console had started downloading game updates and then didn't let one play the game until the update had finished installing, even if it wasn't a multiplayer title. Now, this is a huge problem if you make use of a small cap data plan and decide to try and install updates for your games in segments. As starting a download you may only intend to finish when you have extra data again to spare may mean that you'll only get to play the game again whenever that time is. As I have a stable, consistent internet connection, I don't really have much experience with offline mode on the Xbox One, but I did once have a situation where I tried to play Rise of the Tomb Raider while it was installing an update, and the game didn't let me go further than the start menu, despite the application saying ready to start. I guess it quite literally meant ready to start. However, this conversation did have me thinking about whether, in order to be a gamer nowadays, means having a good, consistent internet connection in order to really get the most out of the hobby. So, do you need a good, consistent internet connection to be a gamer? To answer this question, I decided to have a look at how gamers feel about always online products and how developers have come to rely on updates to actually finish games that are already available to the public. As a general rule of thumb, gamers don't like products that are required to have a constant internet connection. The notion of any piece of gaming hardware or software being always online is sort of a controversial subject, as it definitely tends to make a good number of gamers very angry. There are several examples that can be used both in terms of hardware and software to illustrate this fact. In terms of a hardware perspective, it was highly evident that the notion of an always online console is something that gamers largely do not feel will work in present times. When looking at the outcry that Microsoft experienced when they first announced the Xbox One in 2013. The initial desire to make the console always online meant that gamers would need to ensure that their console maintained a consistent internet connection to simply make use of it, even if they wanted to play games or use apps that didn't really require an internet connection to work. Gamers were angry about this feature because it took for granted that everyone had a good, stable internet connection, which really actually isn't the case. Regardless of the reasons as to why one may have limited or no access to the internet, making a piece of hardware always online is a huge detractor for a product for many people that don't have this access, even if only for a limited time. For example, taking your console on holiday with you, and could negatively impact the popularity of the product. A lot of people do feel that this is one of the prime reasons that the PS4 is doing so much better in terms of sales than the Xbox One. Many people still do associate the Xbox One with this always online idea, even though Microsoft didn't go through with it. If the reaction to Microsoft's initial endeavor with the Xbox One is anything to go by, there probably won't be an always online console for some time. However, this doesn't really matter if software requires you to be online to make use of it, which itself remains a rather controversial debate as well. In an effort to protect their work from piracy, a lot of publishers insert DRM features within their games that require players to be always online, even if the game itself isn't solely a multiplayer experience. Supposedly always being connected to the internet allows servers to authenticate a player's license and prevents players with pirated copies from playing the game. This piracy prevention method is rather famous for failing to prevent people from pirating a game, while inconveniencing the people who actually paid for the game. Probably the most well-known example from over the past few years is that of the SimCity reboot in 2013, which required a consistent internet connection in order to even play single player. Due to this, upon launch, many gamers simply weren't even able to play the single player mode of the game due to the server not being able to accommodate everyone. In such cases, it doesn't even matter if you have a good internet connection or not, because there is no way to play the game if there's no space on the server. Is it really worth protecting a game with an always online feature if it practically destroys the game experience itself? That's the base problems of making a game always always online are quite simply that it prevents those with substandard internet connections from playing them, and at times also destroys the experience for the existing player base. So those who do have good internet connections might not even be able to play the game to its fullest extent anyway. So basically, in an effort to protect their work, some publishers also destroy the potential gains to be made from releasing this work. Despite this fact, however, publishers are still releasing games that require a constant internet connection, even if you only intend to play the single player mode of the game. A rather recent example is For Honor, which requires a constant connection, even if you only wish to play the lackluster story mode. It seems that some publishers such as EA and Ubisoft will not shy away from the idea of always online authentication systems, which does seem to suggest that you do need a good internet connection at least to play certain games. Now, the second major problem that is associated with trying to take up gaming as a hobby and not having a good internet connection is that most games aren't finished on release. It's sort of a standard that most games nowadays are released with day one patches. Even critically acclaimed games from critically acclaimed publishers such as The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt have come with a day one patch. In these instances, you don't actually have to be online to play the game, but the game will be so much better if you are able to download the patches developers release to fix issues that the game really shouldn't actually have come with. While there are some games that don't require you to download a patch in order to have an uninterrupted full experience, Horizon Zero Dawn is a recent game that comes to mind. There are several examples of games released with various game-breaking bugs. A good example at the moment is perhaps the fact that BioWare is still trying to repair the mess that is Mass Effect Andromeda with post-release patches. It is already said that after the first major patch, character facial expressions in the game are already looking so much better than they did on release. People are no longer stuck with this permanent surprised expression on their faces. Mass Effect Andromeda is far from the only example of this process. One only has to try playing Assassin's Creed Unity without patches to see how game developers have come to use post-release patches to fix a title after gamers already own it. As previously mentioned, some games are worse than others in terms of post-release fixes, but there is no denying that not being able to download patches due to a limited internet connection does mean that some may have an inferior experience when playing a game because they may encounter game-breaking situations that are only fixed with the updates that are released after the game is released and require a lot of data to download. Yes, developers shouldn't really be aiming to fix a game after release, but if a title requires fixes, most gamers do still want them to at least release some patches after the game has been released that will make one's experience of a title a little better, and so developers do that. As this practice increasingly becomes the norm, it does also suggest that even if a game doesn't require you to be always online, you may still need a solid internet connection to ensure that you are getting the best experience possible by downloading each patch update, especially if the title in question was released as a broken mess. So are we heading for an online only future? It does seem like we are heading towards a situation in which one will need to be connected to the internet all the time in order to play video games. Even though I don't have internet struggles myself, I don't agree with this idea, as everybody has been in a situation where they were perhaps away from home and unable to connect to the internet at that moment, but still wanted to play some video games. All gamers can do currently is keep on protesting against always online products and hope that industry leaders listen and realize that perhaps a good number of gamers aren't ready for an always online gaming environment. Do you think it's still fully possible to be a fulfilled gamer without a solid internet connection? Are we moving towards always online play more than ever at the moment? Please share in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please remember to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.